Imagine you are a Roman guard. You are standing outside a sealed stone chamber in Alexandria. Inside that room is Cleopatra, the last pharaoh, a descendant of the Ptolemies, and arguably the most powerful woman the ancient world has ever seen. She has been locked inside for 7 days. You hear her sometimes. No crying. No screaming. Just the soft rustle of fabric and footsteps on stone. Occasionally, she speaks as if someone else is there, even though you know for a fact she is alone. But before we go any further, there is something you need to understand about the death of Cleopatra. Everything you think you know? It is wrong. Welcome to World History Vault. Today, we are unlocking the secrets of the most calculated psychological operation in history. The myth versus the reality. The romantic story of the asp hidden in a basket of figs is likely fiction. The image of Cleopatra dying peacefully in her royal bed, surrounded by weeping handmaidens, is almost certainly a myth. What actually happened inside those sealed chambers between August 1st and August 12th, 30 BC, was something far more deliberate. This isn't just a story about suicide. It is a story about a systematic psychological machine designed by Rome to break a queen before allowing her to die. The real question isn't how she died. It is why Octavian needed her to die in a very specific way, and why he needed 10 days to make it happen. If you want to see how power really operates at its most controlled level, hit that subscribe button right now. This channel exists to expose the mechanisms of domination that romantic history prefers to ignore. The Fortress of Death. The destruction began on August 1st, 30 BC. Inside the tomb Cleopatra had built for herself, Mark Antony was already dying. He had fallen on his own sword after a false report claimed Cleopatra was dead. But she wasn't. She had barricaded herself inside her 2-story stone fortress with her 2 most loyal handmaidens and as much treasure as she could carry. Antony was bleeding out at the base of the tomb. His men begged Cleopatra to open the doors, but she refused because she couldn't risk capture. According to the historian Plutarch, she and her attendants lowered ropes and hauled the dying, bloody Antony through a high window. Think about that image. The Queen of Egypt dragging her dying lover into her tomb because opening the door meant losing her freedom. Antony died in her arms. She had only minutes to grieve before Octavian's forces arrived. But Octavian didn't storm the tomb. He didn't break down the doors. Instead, he sent a messenger to discuss the future of her children. While she was distracted, his men climbed the walls and took her by surprise. She tried to kill herself with a hidden dagger right then and there, but they tackled her. Their orders were clear: do not let her die. The Roman triumph, a fate worse than death. Octavian moved her to a guarded chamber on the 2nd floor of the palace. This was where the real destruction began. You see, Octavian had a propaganda problem. He had just won a civil war, Romans killing Romans. He needed to justify it by transforming it into a war against a dangerous foreign queen from the east. To sell this story, he needed to parade Cleopatra through the streets of Rome in a triumph. In a Roman triumph, defeated kings were publicly degraded, led through the city in chains, and then traditionally strangled in the Tullianum prison. Cleopatra knew this formula. She had seen it happen to the Gaulish king Vercingetorix. She would rather die than be a trophy. If you were the last ruler of a 3,000-year-old empire, would you choose a public execution in chains or taking your own life? Tell me in the comments. This choice defined her final 10 days. The psychological trap. Octavian's strategy went beyond confinement. He needed to break her desire to die. To do that, he used the one thing she could not surrender: her children. Cleopatra had 4 children. Octavian separated them from her immediately. On August 2nd, he sent a message: your children are being well cared for. But should anything happen to you, Caesar cannot guarantee their safety. This was the ultimate trap. Her dignity demanded death, but her children demanded her survival. For the next 10 days, Cleopatra existed inside that impossible choice, measuring for the cage. On August 3rd, the pressure escalated. Octavian sent architects to her room with measuring rods. They measured her height, her weight, and the dimensions of her body. When the queen asked what they were doing, they replied, preparing for the triumph. The display must be properly constructed to accommodate you. They were measuring her like an object, like furniture for a stage. Every day they returned, discussing what clothing she would wear and whether she would be in chains or simply restrained. They spoke about her humiliation as if it were an artistic project. This was pure psychological conditioning. The breaking point. Cleopatra was isolated. She could hear her children playing in the distance, but she wasn't allowed to touch them. By August 7th, she stopped eating. Octavian's response wasn't to force-feed her. Instead, he brought her 17-year-old son, Caesar. The boy begged her, "Please eat. Please take care of yourself. I need you." She ate that night. The threat to her children now had a face and a voice. On August 8th, Octavian visited her personally. He offered a deal. Participate willingly in the triumph. Walk under your own power, and your children live. Refuse, and Caesar dies the day you do. He gave her 3 days to choose. The final act of control. On August 11th, something shifted. We don't know exactly what, but Cleopatra realized the truth. The negotiations were theater. Octavian was never going to spare Caesar. The boy was Julius Caesar's biological son and a direct threat to Octavian's authority. She requested one last visit to Antony's tomb to make offerings. While there, she retrieved a small clay vial of poison she had hidden earlier. When she returned to her chamber, she asked for a basket of fresh figs. The guards checked the basket. They saw only fruit and let it through. On the morning of August 12th, the guards entered. Cleopatra was dead. She lay on a golden couch, dressed in royal regalia. Her handmaiden, Charmian, was using her last strength to straighten the queen's crown. When a guard asked, "Was this well done?" Charmian replied, "Extremely well. Fitting for a descendant of so many kings." Then she died too. The final cruelty. Cleopatra died to deny Octavian his parade. But here is the chilling truth. Octavian won anyway. He couldn't parade the real queen, so he built a statue of her with a snake on its arm and dragged that through Rome instead. The propaganda worked. The image of the exotic Egyptian seductress, who died by a snake bite, became the story that survived for 2,000 years. And Caesar, the son she tried to save, was murdered 3 weeks later. Her younger children were paraded in her place and raised as prisoners of state. Cleopatra's death bought her nothing but the way she died. It was the only choice Octavian couldn't take from her. Was her final choice a victory or a defeat? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. If you want to keep uncovering the secrets of how power truly shaped our world, subscribe to World History Vault and turn on notifications. We'll continue uncovering the stories history prefers to hide. Remember those 10 days. Remember the machine Octavian built. And remember why Cleopatra chose death anyway. Not because it saved her kingdom, but because it was the only piece of her agency she had left. Would you like me to show you what happened to the rest of her dynasty? Let me know, and I'll see you in the next one.